Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Seriously, wherever you are tuning in from right now, I hope you're feeling fantastic and taking great care of yourselves. Sending you all big wishes for health, happiness, and strength. Stay well out there. Okay, today we're diving into a concept that sounds super important, and it absolutely is, but might seem a bit mysterious at first. Keystone species. You've probably heard the term tossed around in nature documentaries or articles, maybe about wolves or sea otters. But what does it actually mean? And why are these particular plants or animals so crucial that scientists give them this special title? Forget complicated jargon. We're going to break this down together using simple ideas and some truly mind-blowing real-world stories. Think of it like discovering the hidden superheroes of the natural world, the ones whose presence, or absence, changes everything for their entire community. Let's uncover why a single species can hold an entire ecosystem together. Imagine you're looking at a grand stone archway, the kind you might see in an old castle or cathedral. It's made up of many stones, all carefully balanced. Now, right at the very top, in the center of the arch, there's one special wedge-shaped stone. It's called the Keystone. It might not look that different from the others, but here's the thing. If you carefully remove all the other stones one by one, the arch might wobble, but could potentially still stand. However, if you pull out just that one keystone, the entire arch collapses instantly. That's exactly the idea behind a keystone species in nature. It's a species whose impact on its environment is massive and totally outsized compared to its actual abundance or size. It's not necessarily the most numerous, the biggest, or the most obvious, but if you take it away, the whole structure of the ecosystem changes dramatically, often collapsing in biodiversity and function. Its role is absolutely pivotal, like that central stone holding the arch together. Let's bring this to life with one of the most famous examples, the sea otter. Picture the cold, rich waters along the Pacific coast of North America. Here, you find lush underwater forests, not of trees, but of giant kelp. These kelp forests are incredible ecosystems, providing food and shelter for countless fish, invertebrates, seabirds, and more. Now, sea otters love to eat sea urchins. Sea urchins, in turn, love to eat kelp. They scrape the kelp right off the rocks with their sharp teeth. Before humans hunted sea otters nearly to extinction for their fur, the otters were plentiful. They kept the sea urchin population firmly in check. With lots of otters around, the urchins were scared and hid in crevices, only coming out at night to nibble carefully. This allowed the kelp forests to thrive, creating a vibrant, complex underwater world. But when the otters were removed, the sea urchins lost their main predator. Their numbers exploded. They became bold, roaming the seafloor in huge herds, relentlessly mowing down the kelp forests. What was once a dense, green jungle teeming with life turned into a barren, rocky wasteland covered in spiny urchins. Scientists call these urchin barrens. The fish disappeared, the seabirds left, the whole ecosystem collapsed. All because one furry predator, the sea otter, was taken out. The otter, relatively small in number compared to the vastness of the kelp forest, was the keystone holding that entire system together. Put the otters back, through conservation efforts, and slowly, miraculously, the kelp forests can return. That's the power of a keystone species. Another incredible story comes from Yellowstone National Park in the USA, involving the gray wolf. For decades, wolves were absent from Yellowstone, hunted out. Without their main predator, the elk population skyrocketed. These massive herds of elk spent their winters in the park's valleys, and they ate and ate and ate. They browsed young willow, aspen, and cottonwood trees down to nubs, preventing new trees from growing. This overgrazing changed the landscape dramatically. Streams and rivers started to erode their banks without tree roots to hold the soil. Beaver populations crashed because they couldn't find the willow they needed to build dams. Songbirds that nested in those trees declined. Even some fish populations suffered as water temperatures rose without shade and the structure of the streams changed. The ecosystem was simplified and degraded. Then, in the mid-1990s, wolves were reintroduced. It wasn't an instant fix, but over time, something amazing happened. The wolves started preying on elk. More importantly, the fear of wolves changed the elk's behavior. Elk stopped lingering in valleys and along streams, especially in areas where they felt vulnerable. This gave the young willow, aspen, and cottonwood trees a chance to grow taller than the elk could easily browse. Trees returned to the riverbanks. With more trees, beavers came back and built dams, creating ponds that provided habitat for fish, frogs, insects, and birds. The stabilized riverbanks reduced erosion. The return of one predator species, the wolf, triggered a cascade of positive effects, a trophic cascade, revitalizing the entire landscape. The wolf became the Keystone, restoring balance and complexity to Yellowstone. Keystone species aren't just predators, though. They can be herbivores, engineers, or even plants. Think about the African savanna. Elephants are often considered keystone species. Why? Because of their sheer power and feeding habits. They push over trees, uproot shrubs, and generally act like giant landscapers. This might sound destructive, but it's vital. By knocking down trees and breaking up thick brush, they prevent the savanna from turning into a dense woodland. This maintains the open grasslands that countless other species depend on, grazing animals like zebras and wildebeest, the predators that hunt them, and the birds and insects that live in the grass. Elephants also create vital water holes by digging in dry riverbeds, providing water for many animals during droughts. And when they eat fruit, they disperse seeds over vast distances in their dung, helping forests regenerate in new areas. Without elephants, the savanna ecosystem would fundamentally change, losing much of its characteristic biodiversity. Another example is the humble fig tree in tropical rainforests. Many fig species produce fruit year-round, even when other food sources are scarce. A huge number of birds, bats, monkeys, and insects rely heavily on fig fruit for survival. If fig trees disappeared, these animals would starve during lean times, causing a ripple effect throughout the forest. The fig tree, by providing a critical, reliable food source, acts as a keystone species supporting the entire fruit-eating community. How is a keystone species different from other important species? Good question. Sometimes people confuse it with a foundation species. Foundation species are usually very abundant and physically shape the environment, creating the basic habitat for others. Think of coral polyps building the reef structure itself, or a dense forest of oak trees creating a shady woodland floor. They're the foundational bricks, the main building blocks. An umbrella species is one whose protection indirectly protects many other species that share its large habitat needs. Protecting a tiger's vast territory helps many other animals living in that same forest. A keystone species is different. Its impact is disproportionate. It might not be super abundant, like sea otters weren't after hunting, and it might not create the physical structure. But its specific role or activity controls the populations of other species or maintains critical processes in a way that nothing else quite does. It's about the unique function it performs. Removing a foundation species is like demolishing the whole building, catastrophic. Removing an umbrella species removes protection. Removing a keystone species is like pulling that one crucial brick and watching the whole structure unexpectedly crumble. Identifying keystone species is tricky. Scientists often figure it out by seeing what happens when the species is removed, either through natural events, human-caused extinction, or ideally, through careful experiments where they temporarily exclude the species from a small area and observe the changes. The dramatic transformation of the ecosystem, like the kelp forest vanishing or the riverbanks eroding, is the key clue. It reveals how much that one species was secretly holding the whole intricate web together. Sometimes, a species might act as a keystone only in certain environments or under specific conditions. But when they are identified, it highlights just how interconnected and delicately balanced ecosystems really are. Why should we care? Because understanding keystone species is absolutely crucial for conservation. Protecting them isn't just about saving one charismatic animal or plant. It's about safeguarding entire ecosystems and the countless other species that depend on that keystone's presence. When we know a species plays a keystone role, it becomes a top priority for protection. Efforts to reintroduce wolves to Yellowstone or sea otters to their former ranges weren't just about the wolves or otters themselves. They were strategic attempts to heal broken ecosystems. Conservation plans that focus solely on saving individual species without understanding their role in the bigger picture might miss the mark entirely. Protecting the habitat of a keystone species means protecting the functional integrity of the whole community. It forces us to look beyond the obvious and appreciate the hidden levers that maintain nature's balance. Sadly, many keystone species are under severe threat. They face habitat loss, hunting, pollution, climate change, and persecution, like wolves were for centuries. Losing a keystone species can trigger an ecological collapse that is incredibly difficult and sometimes impossible to reverse. Think about the effort and expense involved in reintroducing wolves to Yellowstone. It took decades of planning and public debate. Preventing the loss in the first place is far better, cheaper, and more effective. When a keystone species declines, it's often a major red flag that the entire ecosystem is in trouble and heading towards a simpler, less diverse, and less functional state. Humans, intentionally or unintentionally, can also act as keystone species, but often with devastating effects. Our activities: overfishing key predators, introducing invasive species that disrupt balances, or wiping out crucial herbivores, can remove natural keystones or create imbalances that collapse ecosystems. Conversely, understanding the keystone concept can guide us towards being better stewards. Restoring keystone species, like bringing back beavers to restore wetlands or protecting vital pollinators, is a powerful tool for ecological restoration. Recognizing the keystone role of species like sharks in maintaining healthy fish populations or bats in controlling insect pests helps us appreciate their true value and motivates stronger protection. So, the next time you see a documentary about wolves howling, sea otters cracking open urchins, or elephants roaming the savannah, remember, you might be looking at a keystone species. They are more than just fascinating animals. They are the linchpins, the master regulators, the hidden architects of their worlds. Their presence weaves complexity and resilience into the fabric of life. Their absence unravels it. Protecting them isn't a luxury. It's essential for maintaining the health, diversity, and wonder of our planet. They teach us a profound lesson about nature. Everything is connected, and sometimes the most crucial piece is the one you least expect. Thanks so much for exploring this amazing concept with me today. Wishing you all health and happiness, stay curious, and I'll see you next time. Take care.